No,
Right up here.
Right up here. Front row.
Yeah.
Our flag is back here.
I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting for January 6, 2020. I'd like you to join Stephen and Emma in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. We have the roll.
Belzak,
Here.
Clistic,
Here.
Gustafson,
Here.
Kenny,
Here.
Shower,
Here.
Sullivan,
Here.
Vaughn, 6 present and 1 absent.
We have a quorum that takes us to questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. This is for anyone from the audience who'd like to address the council on either an agenda item or any non-agenda item. Just come forward, just state your name. And we have 3 minutes. We'll allow 3 minutes for this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Luann Spiros. I am a Darien resident for 25 years. First, I want to say thank you for serving our community. I appreciate your commitment. I too serve Darien. I am a current Darien Park District Commissioner and a former Indian Prairie Public Library trustee. I'm here today to ask you to reconsider, revote, and opt out of the cannabis ordinance or put to referendum. I am someone who did read the Darien Connect, and actually I do like it, and did have an exchange with my alderman on September 13th, before the September 16th vote with requesting us to opt out. Hinsdale, Downers Grove, Woodridge, Oak Brook, Clarendon Hills, Lisle, Wheaton have all opted out. A wise man once said, I deserve the right to get smarter and make more informed decisions. The December 16th council meeting was a reflection of the community's visceral negative response to Darien's opting in and the desire to share concerns with the council. You listened carefully and respectfully. Now that you've learned more, you can make a more informed decision. Please revote and opt out. I disagree with the alderman that said that we should be suggesting more different businesses like video gambling, alcohol, cannabis dispensary at Brookhaven, or Chestnut, or anywhere else in Darien. Like Alderman Kennedy, I visited the Brookhaven video slot soon after it opened so I can make a fact-based assessment, and it was not a restaurant or a boutique. Let's learn from the experience. We are on a slippery slope. We heard from a certified drug counselor who validated the risks. If you must opt in, all sites should require special use. Finally, will a cannabis dispensary really make Darien a nicer place to live? Please do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Luann.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Jerry Legansky, Farmingdale Drive in Darien. 13 years ago, I came before the City Council after my home was brutally vandalized. From that bad experience, I started a neighborhood watch group, and now I have about 100 families in that group. We are in Ward 4 and encompass from 79th Street south along Farmingdale, Sawyer, Glen, Arrow, and some of Portsmouth, and are very close to I-55. In the summer, with my windows open, I can hear the traffic on I-55, and it's a stark reminder how close our neighborhood really is to it. We have block parties, Oktoberfests, and neighborhood garage sales. One year, 33 families participated in my garage sale. Traffic was crazy, and I had numerous people who attended say how nice everyone was, and if there were any homes for sale in my neighborhood. They were that impressed. We all helped an Eagle Scout with his coat drive and helped a neighbor after he totally lost his home to a fire by finding a home right down the block that he could rent. Just a short walk to monitor the progress on the long renovation project. If a registered sex offender moves within 1 mile of my home address, the DuPage Sheriff's Office notifies me and I let my group know. Living so close to I-55 has its challenges too. When a neighbor had a home invasion and 2 autos were stolen within a couple of weeks, I hosted a neighborhood watch meeting that Chief Thomas attended. And he can attest, it wasn't very pretty. It got a little heated, but Chief Thomas, you were professional and you heard our concerns. Our neighborhood got a little safer after that. When there was a gas leak and NICOR wasn't quick to send the crew out, I emailed the group who then flooded NICOR with complaints. The leak was fixed in a couple of days. When we were experiencing some vandalism in our playground, we held a Take Back the Night bonfire to let everyone know the playground was for our little children and we were not going to tolerate it. We've installed 2 streetlights at crosswalks that lead to our playground. I'm very proud of our group. It goes beyond neighborhood watch signs that are just on light posts. Even when neighbors move, some ask me to stay on the list so they can stay connected. It's very simple. When someone wants to share anything with the group, they email me first, and then I blast an email out to the group. We try to stay informed. Our Alderman Tom Klistic is a member of that group. I'm here tonight because I'm disappointed our alderman did not reach out to seek input from our group regarding the cannabis license and to let everyone know about the city survey. I first learned about this council September vote after the fact at my own Oktoberfest. Since our input was not sought, I'm here to share what my group thinks. So I did my own survey and received responses from 46 households. The biggest thing I learned is that the residents did not fully know about the survey. They thought it was just feedback is what they read, but they didn't really know there was a survey that was there. Shamefully, I get the Darien Connect and I did not know. I glanced over too many times and just didn't pay enough attention. You stated at the December council meeting that you have a communication problem, and my survey confirms that. You do have a communication problem. Out of the 46 homes that responded to my survey, only 15.22% knew about the survey. 39 homes, almost 85% did not. Of the 7 who knew about the survey, 6 participated. 5 were in favor, 1 opposed. Of my 46 responses, 10 favored, just under 22%. 35 homes, 76% opposed, and 1 home was split. The wife and husband could not agree. Your survey accounted for 5 or 50% of my neighbors who favored a dispensary, but your survey only had 1 of my neighbors who actually opposed it. So you only heard from 1 of my neighbors when 35 told me they're against this. Clearly, the city heard very little from my neighbors who opposed the dispensary. You only heard from 1 member of my group who opposes. I know my survey is not scientific, but one thing is very clear. People were not aware of the city's survey. You are basing your results on a survey that a minority of people only knew about. I'm glad Sterigenics is closed, but I have to tell you, it still pains me to see the attorney billboard on I-55 as a reminder every day I go to work. I just drove my daughter to Ohio this past weekend, and you're already seeing billboards along 294 for cannabis dispensaries. Can you imagine the billboards for our dispensary along I-55 if one does ever open? Are we all ready to see those daily reminders? Will young families be attracted to move here? Be careful what you wish for. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Please remember that we're limiting you to 3 minutes.
I think I'm a little bit shorter than him. He's the talker in the family. My name's Julie Legansky. I'm publicly responding to an email response from our Alderman, Tom Klistick, who said that he votes based on facts at hand versus fear, emotion, or gut instinct. And therefore, I would like to give him some facts to think about when casting future votes regarding recreational use of marijuana. I want to speak from the perspective of a college teacher. I've been teaching at Robert Morris University for 30 years, and am exposed to a new set of young adults annually. Marijuana is especially dangerous for young people because human brains are not fully developed until around age 25, 4 years past the legal age in states that allow recreational marijuana. The American Academy of Pediatrics says that adverse effects of teen marijuana use include impaired short-term memory and decreased concentration, attention span, and problem solving, which clearly interfere with learning. Alterations in motor control, coordination, judgment, reaction time, and tracking ability have also been documented. These contribute to unintentional deaths and injuries. Studies show that students who use cannabis perform worse in school. After legalizing marijuana in Colorado, staff at the emergency department at the hospital there said that emergency room visits related to marijuana shot up nearly 30%. There were increased visits for breathing problems related to the inhalation of marijuana, including asthma, bronchitis, upper respiratory tract infections, as well as psychiatric needs, accidental or intentional overdoses, and unfortunately increased pediatric patients with issues related to marijuana. Poison control marijuana exposure cases for kids ages 9 and under increased more than 5 times in Colorado after legalization. The University of Colorado Burn Center reported a substantial increase in the number of marijuana-related burns after legalization. A survey published in Drug and Alcohol Dependence Journal reported that 22% of marijuana users experienced acute anxiety or panic attacks following cannabis use, and 15% had psychotic symptoms. When you, council, cast future votes regarding marijuana, I ask you to consider the thoughts of experts. The organizations that oppose legalizing marijuana are the American Medical Association, the American Society of Addiction Medicine, the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, and the American Academy of Pediatrics. I agree with these organizations who care about the health of individuals. I respectfully ask that each alderman take into consideration the health effects of the people in our community, just as they did when voting on the stereogenics issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else?
You know, I had a speech written, but Ms. Lugansky did such a nice job covering the health aspects. I think if anybody wants to refute those, you're welcome to. My name is Dr. Kelly Glisson, and I've been a resident of Darien for about 35 years. Before that, my grandparents were residents of Darien. They actually died in their home, Village Court off Seminole Drive. I have 2 daughters whom I cherish very much. Now, in preparation for this, I kind of looked at my daughter's First Step Preschool. It's been that long. She's a junior at the University of Illinois. And one of the things she had said was, I will use my manners. She wrote that even at the age. So I'm going to try to be nice, although you don't necessarily agree with me. I'll try to be nice in the manner I say it. Even at that age, she aspired to be a physician, Dr. 80. Remember, First Step Preschool. Got her earbud, tongue depressor, everything there, right? And as a junior in Illinois, she's pre-med. She's incredibly smart, and she's going to make an outstanding physician. It's unfortunate, along the lines of what Ms. Lugansky stated, she's going to see an increased incidence and marijuana related, you could take your pick. I don't think they're filtered. Maybe lung cancer, impaired driving accidents as a gateway to heroin, crack, methamphetamine, you name it. But you're going to see more of that, as Ms. Legansky mentioned. One thing that wasn't mentioned was property values in Darien. We're worth, about $4 billion in fair market value property. If property reduces 5%, that's $250 million you've sucked from the residents of Darien, and that should make everybody here angry. It could be 10%, it could be 2%. My point is this: are property values going to increase, or are they going to decrease, or are they going to stay the same? I would argue it's a self-evident truth. They're going to decrease. It's a matter by how much, and you see how quickly the numbers add up. Now, it's about access. There's no question if you want to drive down to 91st Street in Burr Ridge, you can score. But do we have to increase access by legalizing it here in Darien? Walk down the street. I'd rather have them have to drive 20 miles to Aurora or somewhere, make it a little bit harder to get it. The worst thing, I've been a victim of crime. I've been a victim of crime by a drug-crazed lunatic that tried to, rob my home at 1 a.m. There's nothing more harrowing. You're literally fighting for your life. And nobody should ever have to go through that experience. So you think a bunch of people who, by virtue of coming here to buy their pot, are they drug users or not? And is the incident of crime higher or lower when you're introducing drug users into your community? There's enough problems with them here, let alone you're going to be importing them from other areas. It just doesn't make sense. So let me kind of close by saying this. There's going to be winners and losers in this vote, and I hope Alderman Chilsek, he said he listened to data, and hopefully he hears some today. The opposition research I got today from some of my peers indicated, Alderman Belsack may be receptive concerning some of his earlier, points regarding drug use and how to attack it. But so I think the winners here are definitely the pot shop owners. They're going to make millions of dollars. And maybe the advertising companies and the people connected and the corporate dispensaries that are growing the buds and selling it to them, and maybe even the state of Illinois to get some money. But who are the losers going to be? I believe it's going to be the community. It takes a lot to get me here, because if I don't run for office, I don't want to come and tell you how to do your jobs or belittle or disparage you. But you know what? This was serious enough to me where I wanted to come today and speak both from a healthcare perspective as a perspective for my children. And I think they're going to be losers. And in closing, Police Chief Thomas does a good job of protecting us. I know a little bit about finance. I've never questioned the $400,000 in overtime. The men and women in blue do a great job protecting us. However, who's going to protect us from this body? Who's going to protect us from this body? I know you will, Jerry, and you will, Ms. Legansky, and perhaps some others, but, I'm just hoping for more community involvement. With that, I'd like to thank you for your patience and attention to what I had to say today.
Thank you, Kelly. Anyone else in the audience want to address the council? If none, then we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for December 16th, 2019. We have a motion to approve. Alderwoman Sullivan, seconded by Alderman Shower. Questions, comments? If none, the roll.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Gustafson,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 absent.
The minutes have been approved. Receiving of communications. Any communications from any of the aldermen? Alderman Kleinstedt.
Thanks, Mayor. I received 6 pieces of communication, all in opposition of cannabis. First person is Paulette Hidzik, Julie Legansky, Jerry Legansky, Patricia Motz, Mrs. Kleifkin, and Jamie Kieran. Thank you.
Anyone else? It takes us to the mayor's report, and we have kind of a lengthy mayor's report. I have a census 2020 update. As many of you know, next year we'll be conducting a United States Census. So I'd like to give you an update on where we are here in Darien. We're establishing what's called a complete count committee, and this complete count committee is going to be run through our Economic Development Committee. Their responsibility will be to chair the committee and handle dissemination of census materials to the business community. We will also need to reach out to individuals outside of the Economic Development Committee to join them in this effort. So we'll be looking for individuals who have connections or ties to the following: faith-based groups, schools, service groups, and chambers. And the reason we ask for that is we need individuals who have good connections to those groups in our community, because many people don't trust government. When government says, please complete your census, they may not trust that government is giving them the right advice. But if their pastor or their minister or at their school, they hear information about doing this, that helps and assists us in getting a complete count. The establishment of a complete count committee makes us part of a state and national group that has access to resources. As a complete count committee, we plan to focus on the following topics aimed at encouraging, engaging, and educating our population about the upcoming census. 1, to promote the census and the importance of a complete count to the community through local groups. 2, to disseminate information that will encourage the community to complete the census and provide targeted assistance to hard-to-count groups. Emphasize the Census Bureau's commitment to confidentiality to further increase participation in the community, and create public service announcements as promotional tools in oral, written, and electronic format. And please note that our Direct Connect this past Friday had one such public service announcement. We're already utilizing the data, the information that the United States Census Bureau has given us. And we're also going to support the recruitment of employees to conduct the census. And please note that in last Friday's Direct Connect and every Friday will be a recruitment link that will ask people to apply online to be census workers. And in DuPage County, census workers will make $29.50 per hour. So that's basically a part-time job, which is a pretty good rate of pay. So we're going to be asking people to join our complete count committee. It's going to be run, like I said, through our Economic Development Committee. We have several people on that committee that will be working in that regard, but we will also be looking for people who want to join them, again, who have good connections to faith-based groups, to the schools, to businesses, etc. I would also ask those who are interested in joining our complete count committee to get a hold of Joe Hennerfund, who is our city planner. Joe is the gentleman who's serving as our liaison with our complete count committee. With that, I have a proclamation that I will read. Whereas an accurate census count is vital to our community and residents' well-being by helping planners determine where to locate schools, daycare centers, roads, and public transportation, hospitals, and other facilities, and is used to make decisions concerning business growth and housing needs. And whereas more than $675 billion per year in federal and state funding is allocated to states and communities based on census data, and whereas the census data ensure fair congressional representation by determining how many seats each state will have in the United States House of Representatives, as well as the redistricting of state legislatures, county and city councils, and voting districts. And whereas the 2020 census creates jobs that stimulate economic growth and increase employment opportunities in our community. And whereas the information collected by the census is protected by law and remains confidential for 72 years. And whereas the City of Darien recognizes the importance and the impact of the 2020 census on the overall well-being and quality of life for all residents in its community. Every resident in Darien counts and deserves to be counted. Whereas the City of Darien, Illinois agrees to be one of the local governments in partnership with the United States Census Bureau by forming a 2020 Complete Count Committee that will include representatives from local government, businesses, residents, and other community organizations. Now I therefore, Joseph A. Marquez, Mayor of the City of Darien, do hereby proclaim full support of the 2020 census by forming a complete count committee to be led by the Economic Development Committee to ensure that all residents in our community are counted. And again, I'm going to be asking people in our community to become part of the complete count committee. I'm also going to be asking residents to go online and to seriously consider working as census workers. This is not something where we're concerned about counting everyone. I know there are people who have asked me, well, do we want to count illegals? This has nothing to do with illegals. This has to do with people who are living in this community. Now, 10 years ago, we were in the 80%, 86% in terms of count. So we were probably 14% underreported. Just to give you an example, each individual that's counted is worth $1,500 to the state of Illinois and to this community. So when you miss out on 500 people, you lose $750,000 in funding. And the organizations that suffered the most are probably the schools, because Title I and other programs, Medicaid, all suffer as a result of lack of federal aid that comes back to Illinois. So I just want to emphasize how important that is. The other thing I'd like to do tonight is I'd like to talk to you a little bit about electric aggregation. I wrote this email to the City Council. I'd like to just read it for the public. A number of years ago, the City of Darien employed the Northern Illinois Electric Collaborative, or NIMEC, in an effort to provide electric rates to our Darien residents at the lowest possible rates. NIMEC assisted us, as they do with other municipalities, to find energy suppliers who provided rates that in many cases were lower than ComEd. In addition to bidding out for electric aggregation, we also used NIMEC for joint bids for our water system pumps and our street lighting. This municipal aggregation has led to Darien and other Northern Illinois residents saving tens of millions of dollars on their home electric bills. As the program progressed, it became more difficult for communities to receive bid pricing below the ComEd rate. They suspended their programs and residents have moved back to ComEd. While we have not suspended our program, we have found it difficult over the last several bidding processes to obtain a lower rate than ComEd. When we last bid out electric supplier costs, ComEd provided the lowest rates, so we currently use them as our energy supplier. This spring, we will again be working with NIMEC to seek the best pricing for our residents. Recently, David Hoover, NIMEC's executive director, met with me and shared a new proposal that fits my objective of providing energy to Darien residents that is 100% renewable. Under this plan, every Darien resident is charged the ComEd rate guaranteed, including the monthly purchase electricity adjustment. In addition to receiving electricity from 100% renewable sources, suppliers are providing civic contributions to municipalities using this program. These funds, up to $25,000, can be used by the municipality for other renewable projects, such as installing electric charging stations in Darien. Under this program, Darien receives the benefit of renewable energy certificates representing green energy generated by wind farms in the Midwest. The program enables Darien to be designated an EPA Green Power Partner Community with street signage that we can post within Darien and the ability to promote certification on our website. It also achieves an objective of the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, which we are members of their Greenest Region Compact. As in the past, any resident and small business may choose to opt out at any time. There are no fees to residents or to the community. The stability of this community-managed program enables residents to avoid solicitors with less favorable pricing and fees. Communities such as Arlington Heights, Aurora, Clarendon Hills, and others have chosen to join the Renewable Energy Program, and I believe this program fits our overall vision for Darien as a sustainable energy community. Such a designation is appealing to families seeking to find a home in our community as it promotes our vision as an environmentally conscious community. Mr. David Hoover will be meeting further with me to discuss this program, and I've asked him to attend our January 20th, 2020 council meeting to provide an overview of the program while also preparing for making a decision regarding our electric aggregation. So this is something, Mr. Hoover is going to be coming in next Monday, the 13th. Brian and I are going to meet with them. We're going to get more details on this. But on January 20th, he'll be in to talk to the entire council. And again, I think it's really critical. People are concerned about the image of the city. We've heard a lot from people who are concerned that the fact that we approved an opt-in ordinance is going to take away from how people look at us. Well, I think this provides people with an opportunity to look at us in a little different way, a little bit more positive way, which is clearly something I'd like to see people see Darien as an energy sustainable community. And so we'll be talking more about that on the 20th. Now there's one other item that I really do need to share with you tonight. And I'm doing this for matters of transparency. In 2006, the Darien's comprehensive plan was updated and included the concept of unifying all four quadrants of the intersection of 75th Street and Cass Avenue. The area seen as the geographic center of the community would through development, be promoted as the Darien Marketplace Shopping District. The plan was to build an identity through design treatments along 75th Street and Cass through unified architecture, landscaping, and signage. The plan called for the possible redevelopment of the northwest quadrant, which is the Lay School property, and the southeast quadrant that at that time was the old market. Since 2006, we have redeveloped the southeast quadrant into what is now the Darien Point Shopping Center with the clock tower and the fountain. We have seen the expansion of 75th Street in Cass from 4 to 6 lanes, which allowed us to provide architectural lighting and signage that have in many respects followed the comprehensive plan recommendations. If you read in the 2006 plan, many of the changes recommended in the plan had become part of our work to revitalize the intersection since 2006. The northwest quadrant, which includes the Lace School, Old Lace Museum, and Safety Village, totals 12.5 acres. And the 2006 plan called for developing this area into a town center with a community center, public green, outdoor plaza, and retail office space. I've had discussions with Mr. Vanna, Mr. Gombeck, and Mr. Hennepin regarding the feasibility at looking at these 12.5 acres as a possible redevelopment site. In order to determine whether we should move forward with this project, I've called and spoken to Dr. Robert Carlo, Superintendent of District 61, and I've asked if our group could meet with the District 61 Board of Education in order to gauge their response to this concept. Dr. Carlo has agreed to meet with us here at City Hall during the next 2 weeks, along with his business manager, in order to have some preliminary discussions regarding this project, and he has placed this on his January 28th Board of Education agenda for presentation to his entire board. I'm sharing this with the council this evening so that everyone here understands that this is all very preliminary. While I have brought this up in informal discussions with several council members and at our recent gala, I wanted the entire council to be aware of our pursuit of this project. Quite possibly, this could all end with our preliminary discussions, or it could develop into a long-range project. Any questions? Okay. That's,
Tom raised his hand.
Tom.
So 12 acres, is that just a school, or how close does it get to Lay School and back? Is that just the old
It's
school?
the
12
entire,
acres?
it's the entire quadrant and includes the old Lay School as well as the Safety Village, 12 and a half acres. And we, the reason we want to know where the school district is with regard to this, if the school board is open to the idea of our purchasing the property, we would put money in our upcoming budget for land appraisal for a potential cost. And I believe, Dan, we've also already made contact with, what's the gentleman's name?
Ron Frame,
And he's
Sterling Bay.
from Sterling Bay. We would really want to have a proposal. Now, if you like, and I don't think any of you have ever seen this, this is the comprehensive plan from 2006. And this has some very defined drawings in terms of what that property would look like. Back then, they looked at it as a community center, a municipal center, some retail, et cetera. We're looking probably more or less for what we would call sustainable living. Could be apartments, could be condos, but it would be retail, it would be a mall area, it would be parking, and it would really become what I believe would be our downtown area. But this is preliminary. And again, this is not going to happen in a month. This is probably a 2 to 3, possibly a 4-year project, because the school district would have to find an alternative site for the children who go to school there. But I wanted you to be aware of this because I talked to Dr. Carlo again today, talked to him Friday. Brian and I and Dan and Joe have had discussions, and I didn't want somebody to coming up to you in public and saying, "Do you hear? I hear that the city is interested in buying our property." I wanted you to know up front that this is something that I think we need to pursue. And again, if it ends with the school district saying we're not interested, then it ends with that. But this is the direction I'd like to see us going.
Did you have conversations with all councilmen, or just a select few?
I just mentioned it informally to people, and that was basically even before the gala when I mentioned it as something that would happen in the future. And it was really, after having that discussion, Brian and I sat down and we talked about how maybe this is something we really need to consider. And it is part of this comprehensive plan. So this is not something that's totally new. Eric.
Yeah, and I served on that comprehensive plan committee and pushed hard for that development of Lay School, so you've got my support on that. That's our only real opportunity to get a downtown in the city.
And I'll be quite honest, in talking with Dr. Carlo, we talked about what they would have to do. He even told me they would have to add on to one of their other buildings. They'd have to build X amount of rooms. Their enrollment has gone from 2,600 pupils in the early 2000s to 1,300.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean their enrollment's going to decrease more. It may increase as homes are sold and new families come in. But right now they're holding at about 1,300 pupils. I don't know how many at Lay School in particular.
The whole thing, yeah.
So we would look at the entire 12 and a half acres as a potential redevelopment site. Okay. Tom?
In general, do you issue bonds, or how does, on the finance side in general?
That whole process would be something that we would only get into after.
Okay.
Yeah, there's different ways. It depends on, a developer might finance it if they're interested. There might be bonds. There's, again, to get to that part, we'd have to really move
Okay,
down the
that's
line
good.
a little bit. But
There's other downtowns.
yeah, there's a number of ways, that being one of them. Yeah.
And we'll let you know. We'll let you know how those discussions are coming along. And again, we're going to go to the Board of Education in District 61 on January 28th. Their board president is aware of this already, Janine Kiewit. She's been informed by Dr. Carlo. His district lawyer has been made aware of it, as well as their business manager. And his business manager will be joining him, meeting with Brian and I and Dan and Joe next Monday, January 13th. Anything else? If none, then the city clerk report.
Just one item, Mr. Mayor. A meet and greet will take place with Mayor Marquez on Monday, January 20th at 6 p.m. here in City Hall in the upstairs conference room.
Thank you, Joanne. City administrator's report. Brian?
No report tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Department head information and questions. Anybody have questions for Dan or the chief? Tom?
Thank you, Mayor. Just for Dan, we spoke earlier just about the quick comment of potentially looking into having a service, just looking at the drains that get flooded, having a committee or volunteers that could look at that in October potentially to keep them clean. I think Naperville or Downers Grove has one of those programs. So.
Sure, and just for the rest of the city council and the viewing residents, what time Alderman Klistick spoke of was referred to as adopt a storm sewer program. And basically what that does is entails residents to be part of a team, if you want to say, and to review and clean inlets during or prior to a storm event, especially when the storm events aren't announced. And we all know what happens when we have a quick surge of rain and leaves all come down. So Alderman Clistic had mentioned to me and possibly starting this type of program within the neighborhood, similar to a Neighbor Watch program. So we're going to look into the program, at least see what the city of Naperville has, and present it back for either it's budget discussions and or, depending on what the monetary costs are, and or probably just another enhanced program for the city.
And Dan, even absent that program, we never stopped residents from pitching in during those storm events. I know it's been helpful because you're right, it happens quick, and there have been occasions where residents do go, they take the rake out. It's actually pretty simple, just take the leaves off the inlet.
Correct,
and all
yes.
of a sudden the water goes down, so even without the program, we'll take the help.
Yeah, I think the goal was to make it a little more recognizable, Alderman Clistic, if I'm not mistaken, and possibly, some type of incentive behind it.
Potentially, yeah. If you offer a gift card or
At the new Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll look into that and give a further report.
Okay.
Eric?
I just have a question for Dan. Dan, I know we talked a little bit about this before, but who's responsible now for cleaning up the wetlands? I know I work with you and your team, and they got the wetlands cleaned up around the Walmart area, but the rest of the wetlands throughout the city, I mean, who's supposed to take point on getting those cleaned up?
Great question.
Really
Now,
referring to litter, not
Litter.
maintenance of
No,
just
it's
litter.
the
Okay.
litter. I mean, the one by Walmart got cleaned up. I mean, it was a disaster that was there. And that got, Dan and his team got Walmart and them to clean it up. But what about the rest of the wetlands?
depending where they're at, as far as garbage goes, yes, they should be cleaned. How they get in there, well, again, there's opportunities throughout the season to be able to get in there and pick up the garbage. That's so, when we identify it, we've been picking it up. Crest Basin, as a matter of fact, is a classic example. It's owned by DuPage County, maintained by DuPage County. We're in there, they're in there. Probably not enough. They just happen to catch trash from.
Yeah. I mean, do we have then a list then of all the wetlands and who's responsible for cleanup?
Well, we have a list of wetlands.
Okay.
As far as responsibility to clean up, we could always find out who the owners are. In some cases, the owners of these wetlands are tied to residential properties or a property.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, it becomes a homeowners association issue. Bottom line is, we have the opportunity to go in there and bill them back if it's a litter issue, whatever the case is, property maintenance code violation. So if there's areas that you or anyone else recognizes for trash within these detention basins / wetlands, give us a call.
I mean, I think, and I've served years ago on the environmental committee, but I think that might be a good project for the environmental committee to do, is to address the wetland issue.
I could see that being a good project for them.
We'll mention it to Lisa, she could share that with the committee.
Okay, thank you.
And Dan, in the interim, there's places like in Alderman Sullivan's ward that we have a special service here, so that would be us cleaning at this point, certain basins like that, as you mentioned. So they're all a little bit different in terms of who should clean the litter.
Exactly, and Terra Hill is one of those with the three basins that serve multi-purposes. They're just not exposed to all those areas of trash. I think, those are more guarded
Yeah.
by the residents, whereas Walmart, for example, is wide open, or
Yep.
other areas. So Mary, great job out there.
Well, it's right across the street. I get my free labor over there with their garbage bags. Children.
Any other questions? Any questions for Dan or the chief? Okay. Takes us to the treasurer's report and the warrant number. Brian?
I know Mike tonight.
Let me just get to that page. We are asking for city council approval for the warrant dated January 6th, 2020, in the listed funds. And the total amount in the warrant this evening is $358,385.43. And there's a general fund and water fund payroll of $286,655.96.
Motion to approve. Alderman Shower, second by Alderman Kenny. Questions or comments? If none, the roll.
Shower,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Gustafson,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 absent.
That takes us to questions and comments, agenda related. Anybody in the audience have?
Standing committee.
Oh,
reports.
I'm sorry. I've already flipped to the next page. Standing committee reports. I'm sorry. Alderwoman Sullivan.
Just want to announce that the next Admin Finance Committee meeting, we had one this evening prior to council. Our next one is scheduled for Monday, February 3rd at 6 p.m. in the conference room. And the next Economic Development Committee meeting is this Wednesday, January 8th at 7 p.m. in council chambers. And lastly, the Citizen of the Year Committee has convened. The applications were due by 5 p.m. today, and they have gotten several applications, and they will be reviewing and preparing some recommendations for the next meeting.
Thank you, Mary. Alderman Belzak.
Thank you, Mayor. The next Municipal Services Committee meeting will be on January 27 at 7 p.m. in council chambers.
Thank you. Alderman Kenny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next Police Committee meeting will be held on Monday, January 20th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Across the street in the police training room.
Thank you, Joe. Now we're at questions and comments, agenda related. Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments regarding anything on the agenda tonight? If none, we move to old business. There being none, we move to the consent agenda, and I will note for the audience that item E on the consent agenda is now new business item A. Item A, consideration of a motion granting a waiver of the $50 a day fee for the Class J temporary liquor license for Our Lady of Peace. Consideration of a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Underground Pipe and Valve Company for the Clout Eddy F2500 fire hydrant repair parts at the proposed unit prices as required for a period of May 1st, 2020 through April 30th, 2021. Item C, consideration of a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Underground Pipe and Valve Company for the Clout Eddy fire hydrant repair parts at the proposed unit prices as required for a period of May 1st, 2020 through April 30th, 2021. Item D, consideration of a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Underground Pipe and Valve Company for the Cloud Medallion fire hydrant repair parts at the proposed unit prices as required for a period of May 1st, 2020 through April 30th, 2021. Motion to approve. Alderman Belzak, seconded by Alderman Kenny, and the vote.
Belzak,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Gustafson,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 absent.
The consent agenda is approved. That takes us to new business. The first item under new business is consideration of a motion to approve an ordinance granting special uses and variations to the property known as 7532 Cass Avenue Commercial Development. Motion to approve. Alderman Belzak, seconded by Alderman Shower. Discussion.
We talked about this in workshop, and we talked about it at length during the municipal services meeting. I asked for it to be moved originally from consent back down to A. If you look at what we're voting on tonight, there are a lot of different variances that they're requesting. Due to the nature of the property, it's going to be very, very difficult to put anything in that property with the way the code is written here, as it stands today. But I just want to make sure that everybody was aware of why we were doing it. So that's why I asked for that item to be brought to new business item A.
Thank you. Any other comments? If none, the roll.
I have a quick question. What's the time frame in general to have it completed?
I believe
About a year?
Mr. Matthews is looking to start their project
Immediately.
probably by the end of January.
Okay.
And the vote.
Belzak,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Gustafson,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 absent.
It passes. Item B, consideration of a motion to approve an ordinance authorizing the execution of a construction grant agreement for the northwest corner of Plainfield and Cass not to exceed $150,000. Motion to approve. Alderman Shower, second by Alderwoman Sullivan. Discussion. Just for the audience sake, this is so that the building that's constructed at the corner looks like the buildings that we have across the street at the Darien Point Shopping Center. This is a portal, this is an entrance into the city of Darien, and we want this to be as attractive to residents who are people that are coming into our city. A lot is spoken about how people feel about the city of Darien. Well, I think one of the things that people see is your stores, your downtown area, and if it looks nice, it looks inviting, it brings people into the community, and I think that's why this is a good proposal for us.
Just in addition, we covered a lot in the agenda memo, but and there's a couple of pictures up that the council has seen previously. This is on the right is requirements under the code. That's what the building would look like. So in order for the upgrades to the building that were discussed by the city, there's an additional cost. So if the council voted no, the project moves forward and Mr. Manos builds. And again, this is an addition to building upgrades that the city would be splitting the cost. So again, it just current estimates are about $300,000. And the city's portion, if approved, would be a maximum of 150, which is half estimated full cost.
And cities should, over time, recoup that money back. It's a good investment for the city is where I'm going, correct?
Well, this is a little different than other ones because the intent here is not so much recouping. This is really an aesthetic enhancement to the building. Certainly, there's a number of benefits. But over time, we will see increases. I don't know if Mr. Manos has those numbers, but increases in property taxes, not just to us, but to the school and different things. But at this point, that we have not measured that in terms of the incentive. This is
Because
really,
we're sure as heck not getting anything from the spot that's there right now, right?
Not gonna get anything. No, not from the ground that's there. Alderman Shower.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been an alderman now for 10 years, and when I first came on to the council, we were deciding what we were going to do with the strip of land, okay? 10 years later, we've gotten the chase. We've gotten the two sections of the strip mall. We've gotten rid of the old, Phillips 66 where this is going into. Changed hands now to Burrito, okay, from the old was it Margie's or what was it before?
Pammy's.
Pammy's, thank you. Speedway's been redone, okay? We've done everything we've had in this entire section for 10 years. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. And the $150,000 to make it look aesthetically pleasing for the entire section, I truly believe it's worth every penny. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Alderman Belzak.
Yeah, when we first came up, I wasn't sure what I was going to do on this because in my mind it is a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But after thinking about it, and it kind of reminds me of a television commercial that's on right now where, and I don't even know what it's for, but it's like, do you want something that's okay, or do you want something that's good? And I think the one on the right is okay, and the one on the left is something that's good. And I think it is money well spent.
Anyone else? Alderman Klistick.
Yeah, I just want to mention this is from our economic development funds that we have already allotted for any economic development for downtown.
This money, per the contract, would be paid to Mr. Manos 14 days after we grant an occupancy permit. So by then, we'll be in our next budget year, so it will come out of money from the Economic Development Fund for next year.
Next year,
fiscal
okay.
year. Any other questions or comments? In the roll?
Shower.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Klistick.
Aye.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 absent.
Motion passes. Questions and comments and announcements of a general nature? Anyone have anything they'd like to, Tom?
We discussed this a little bit at pre-council, but we're going to ask, I'll send an email out to Mr. Vanna about looking at architectural standards for our businesses and general for home, just to take a look at it to see if we can put a general plan and look at what other towns do to make a consistent look or look for all the houses throughout the town, because currently we don't have such a thing. So that's something that could help improve the town and have a standard that all the buildings would have to meet coming to town.
Anyone else?
Mayor, I'm sorry, I had one comment I wanted to mention, because Mr. Manos, who we all know or will get to know, was not at the last meeting. I think, John, you were out of town, and there was some discussion regarding the center relative to the cannabis issue. But a couple comments were made by one individual about John, which were obviously not accurate. You know, I've worked with John for many years in a couple different communities. Dan's worked very closely with him. Mayor Marquez now has had an opportunity, and John is nothing but professional and really has always been accessible. And it's a pleasure, John, to work with you. And again, just so the public hears that, because I didn't want anybody to leave with comments that might have been made at the last meeting. And again, John, we're excited, to work with you on this, and we know that you really have done a lot in that center, and you do care about the community, and it's shown many, many times through the years. So I just wanted to make that point.
And John, when we redevelop the Lay School property, we'll build that bridge over 75th Street again. Tom?
And then also a quick thank you. I had some concerns from residents with regards to the semi-truck parking in that area. Coming to town, you sort of see some 18-wheelers there, so I appreciate letting the city put some signs out there. So,
Anything else? If nothing else, then motion to adjourn. Alderman Kenny, second by Alderwoman Sullivan. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. 8:20.